This is my AEW WrestleDream 2025 thoughts video. Before I get into the actual video, I do want to apologise for the lateness of this video. I've been very busy and just been trying to find the time to film it, and I do apologise for that. That being said though, just like how last month's All Out, I wasn't able to watch the buy-in, any of the matches on the buy-in, I should say. Same thing happened here. Don't know why, but the live stream on YouTube from AEW wouldn't let me. Didn't show any of the matches themselves, just the video packages. So can't give you my thoughts on them. And I do feel like this might be a running thing. I don't know why. That being said, though, the show itself opened in a awesome way with the opening pyro going off and the wide shot and that, with us being in the middle of FTR versus Jet Speed as they started their match during the buy-in, but it carried on into the actual main show. Obviously can't say how the match began because I didn't see it, but for what I saw on the main show, it was an awesome match. Very back and forth with double team moves, back and forth, very close falls, including when Dax accidentally clocked Cash by accident, leading to Mike Bailey getting a roll-up attempt with a super close 2-fall. But in the end, though, thanks to Stokely grabbing Mike Bailey's feet whilst he had Dax in a suplex position, Stokely's interference was able to allow FTR to pick up the win in the end. Very awesome match, visually spectacular and very fun indeed. The scheduled opener of the night was actually Jamie Hayter versus Tekla, but obviously due to how the show opened, that got bumped to being the second match of the night. Before the actual match got underway, we had Tony Schiavone at ringside with Lou Thesz's widow, Charlie Frez, clearly just there to set her up for her involvement in the match. That being said, though, it was a nice little moment. The match itself, very good, with Jamie Hayter getting a hot start, taking it to Tekla, considering these two have been feuding since back in May when Tekla made her debut and Jamie got injured, so this has been kind of pushed back until now and then got picked up obviously in recent months after her return. The match led to the spilt to the outside where it got in front of Charlie, where Jamie got distracted by hugging and Charlie before Tekla got control of the match after a crossbody to the outside, which led to her getting some good heat, working over Jamie, taunting the crowd and getting in the face of Charlie at ringside. This obviously led to a brief comeback by Jamie Hayter, which led to obviously some fun spots, including a spot where the two battled it out on top of the top rope for a bit, and this all led to Jamie able to pick up the win in the end with with two lariats. And so finally, Jamie Hayter picks up the win over Tekla, and in a very good match. Following the women's match, we got the tag match of the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express for 500k. In another very entertaining entrance for the Bucks, they had a graphic on the screen showing how much they've spent and the fact that they're now broke, so that was very much fun, with them also coming down to the ring and trying to pose for photos with the crowd, then to ask them money and that. So that was quite a fun little add-on. and also set them up for why they needed to win the match, because they're broke yet again. The crowd were firmly behind Jurassic Express in the whole match. They were very much the crowd favourite, and that led into how they gained control of the match very quickly and was on top for a while, and that before the Bucks were able to gain momentum after hitting an assisted Swanton bomb onto Perry, which made sense because obviously Perry being the weaker out of the two, of obviously being the smaller guy compared to Luchasaurus, who's obviously the muscle of the team, and keeping him on the outside and keeping Perry in made sense. But the Bucks let their egos kind of get the head of themselves as they tried another assisted powerbomb stomp on the ropes, but due to the momentum of it, Perry was able to reverse it, get the tag to Luchasaurus, which led to a hot tag with Luchasaurus being able to take out the Bucks and gain control of the match. And this was where the match kind of stepped up a gear into being, let's just do a load of high spots between the teams, including a game of chicken on the outside with each member of the teams being on the other member's shoulders. That was quite fun. We then got a Meltzer driver attempt after an EVP trigger wasn't enough by the Bucks, but Jurassic Express were able to reverse it and hit the countdown for extinction for the win in the end. After the match, the Bucks was sitting there on the floor looking defeated, and Perry showed them a bit of respect, trying to shake their hands, and the Don Callis family came out to attack them, which led to the Bucks leaving and Kenny Omega making the save, but briefly trying to convince the Bucks to come and save them, but they hesitated not to help, teasing a face turn, I would assume, in the near future for the Bucks. This was an awesome match. Unbelievably great. Loved this match. Afterwards, we got the match of the Hurt Syndicate versus the Demand. Now, following the awesomeness of that tag match, this was a chaotic fun match, I would like to say it was, as we got the Hurt Syndicate making their entrance, that the Demand jumped him and basically ruled most of the match to begin with GOA eliminating Shelton and Bobby after hitting a powerbomb on Shelton off the steps through a table which Bobby was on. Obviously, by doing this, taking them out, isolated MVP as the only member of the syndicate left to get worked over and that until Bobby and Shelton made their comebacks, which led to some really good spots, including Bobby setting up a elevated suplex on Ricochet in the corner, only for GOA to turn it into a Tower of Doom spot. This then led to probably the best spot of the match for me. With everyone brawling on the outside, Ricochet looked to hit a dive, only to be cut off by Shelton and then thrown into the pile on the outside by Shelton, leading to him doing a dive onto everyone, really showing what he's capable of, and the fact that he's been very underutilised in WWE for years, and now even though he's in his later years, he's still able to show he's that great. This led to the finish, which was a really good subversion of expectations, with Ricochet being isolated now, all alone with the 3 members of the Syndicate, only for Bishop Kong to pull Ricochet out of the ring and take his place, and sacrificed himself instead of Ricochet and got laid out, and then the Hurt Syndicate picked up the win, which means they will be the #1 contenders for the Trios Championships. Very chaotic, fun match. Following that, we got our first title match of the night, which was the TNT Championship match between Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe. This being the 5th match they've had, and the fact that they're 2 wins each so far, there was a lot more on the line than just the championship itself. The match started off quite surprisingly more technical based compared to how the match would go on, to being very hard hitting and fast paced, which was a nice subversion of expectation. Especially as Briscoe ended up getting upper hand out of this technical exchange. This led to the involvement of the steel chair, which Mark tried to use several times but stopped to, which led to the final use of it, which was him hitting a suicide dive to the outside on Kyle, who was sitting in the chair, which was very good. This led to brawling to the outside, which Kyle ended up getting the upper hand and then using the steel steps to really gain control with a powerbomb on them. This obviously led to things turning more to Kyle's advantage, with him picking up the momentum as the match went back in the ring. A bit more back and forth, and that we got. Then Mark ended up getting the momentum, which led to him getting a very close couple of near falls, including after 3 Froggy Bow attempts and a J Driller, him getting a Super 2 count, which, to be honest, I did buy into the fact that he might have beaten Kyle. That being said, though, the finish did come when Kyle, behind the ref's back, hit a low blow and a brainbuster, but Mark kicked out, which led to another attempt at a brainbuster, this time on the top rope, which did put Mark away for the win, and Kyle is still your TNT champion in a very good match. Very awesome match, I should say. Following that, we got the AEW Women's Championship match of Chris Statlander versus Toni Storm. This match itself felt really different from everything we had seen so far in the night, as it didn't have anything over the top. It had a lot more of a slower pace, and like I said, nothing over the top, which these two really didn't need to go over the top for, because their story was so great that I felt that they just needed to tell the simple story that they did, which was obviously Statlander needed to prove to herself and to everyone that her win in the Fatal 4-Way last month at All Out, where she won the title and beat Toni for it, wasn't a fluke. She can do it. She isn't just a fluke champion. This also brings to Toni's side, which is, who is Toni Storm when she doesn't have the championship? Because she's having a crisis of character. Who is she without this championship? So she needs to win this belt back, the belt that she held for ages and multiple times, to feel whole again. So yeah, that to me was a really great story for this match, and the match itself was really good, with an even back and forth between the two, and that, which led to some real fun spots, and the crowd were surprisingly quiet, a bit quiet to begin with. By the end, they really got into the match, which led to the finish of the match being when Statlander hit a second Saturday Night Fever to retain the championship. And like I said, it might not seem like I've spoken much about the match, but for me, it was more about the story they were telling than what actually happened in the match. That being said, though, I did like what happened afterwards, which was as Statlander was trying to celebrate her win, she was interrupted by Mercedes Moné coming out, and we got a tease between them two, which I'll give my thoughts on to after I talk about the next match, which was as Moné came out for her open challenge that she previously set up before the show, which was Mercedes Moné versus Mina Shirakawa in a winner takes all TBS Championship and interim Ring of Honor Women's World Television Championship. And obviously in these sort of open challenge matches, it's very difficult for the champion, or the person who's given the challenge, who's obviously Moné, to really get ready for who she's facing, because she doesn't know who she's facing and has to kind of react and plan out on the go. This obviously led to Shirakawa coming out and knowing that she's facing Moné, and took advantage of this for an excellent beginning of the match with Shirakawa mocking Moné, getting control, really out wrestling her, and showing that Moné is getting frustrated with this fact, and that because she wasn't prepared for Mina. This led to obviously Moné finally getting the upper hand, and easily turning the match for her sake, and then a bit more back and forth and that, with several near falls, which got to the point where it actually did seem like Mina was going to win some. It got really close with the kickouts, which was excellent. But in the end, the finish came when Moné rolled Mina up and got her feet on the ropes for the win. A good match, but the thing about this match, it will only ever be remembered not for the work rate or the actual match itself. It will just go down in history and be remembered as the match that Mercedes Moné won her 11th championship, beating Ultimo Dragon's record of having 10 championships, and she's won her 11th, which means now, and I've got a list of all the belts she holds here, so just bear with me. She now holds the AEW TBS Championship, the Rev Pro Undisputed British Women's Championship, CW Women's Championship, EWA Women's Championship, CMLL World Women's Championship, Besta Women's Championship, PTW Women's Championship, DW Women's Championship, Body Slam Women's Championship, WPW Women's Championship, and now the ROH Interim Women's World Television Championship. Half of them I don't know, I've never heard of, and honestly, this is not me taking jabs at the companies. A lot of them to me just sound very made up and just feel like, oh, we just want to give her belt, so let's just quickly make up a company just to get her belt. And I am kind of getting sick of her whole belt collector gimmick, when the belt collector gimmick's been done several times, and honestly it's a bit tired now, so I feel like it should be put to rest. But anyway, the interesting fact was there was no celebration for Moné, as afterwards, as she was celebrating, Statlander, the AEW Women's Champion, came down and faced off with her, laying her out and that, which is clearly with what happened after Statlander's match with Monet interrupting her, and now this is where we head into. We are building to a match between these two for the world title, and I would assume that I don't really want to. I would assume Monet's going to win, so she can win the AEW world title and have all her other belts, as we already did this with Tony Storm at All In, but Monet lost. So I guess the second time she goes for the world title, she'll win it, but we'll have to wait and see. But the match itself, good, but like I said, it's only going to be remembered for the championship win. Afterwards, we got the AEW World Tag Team Championship match of Brodido versus Konosuke Takeshita and Kazuchika Okada, in an excellent match and my personal match of the night between these teams. And a lot of championships are involved in this match. You have the tag champs themselves, you have the Ring of Honor World Championship, you have the AEW Unified Champ, and you have the new IWGP World Champ as well. A very even match between these four, with Bandido's taped shoulder being targeted by the heels, but Brody being the equaliser and being able to take down both Takeshita and Okada, but which led to obviously furthering the tension between Okada and Takeshita. They have to work together perfectly to be able to take the big guy down, which they did after Brodido ran wild a bit and started to do the Macarena attempt, which led to my personal favourite part of the match, and which I'll get onto. With their Macarena attempt being ruined, Okada decided to do his own, in which he flipped off the crowd for a perfect bit of heel work. And speaking of Okada, he's the best part of this match. I loved Okada in this match, as the match itself opened with Bandido showing respect, extending his hand for Okada to shake it, and Okada just flipping him off. And obviously, like I said, the Macarena version that he did was excellent. But this obviously led to, like I said, furthering the tension between these two, of Okada and Takeshita, as cracks throughout the match slowly started to show, especially with Don Callis, because Don Callis was excellent in this match for me, because he came out with both of his guys, showing no favouritisms. He was being very unbiased. He was being very in the middle between the pair of them throughout the match, but then slowly was saying Okada was being the smarter one out of the two, and pointing out moments when Takeshita was making mistakes, which was interesting, which led to near the end of the match, which I'll get to, where Okada was outside the ring laying down, and Don came off a commentary to check on Okada to make sure he was okay, not Takeshita, which obviously led to the finish of the match itself, where Okada looks to hit the Rainmaker on Bandido, but accidentally nails Takeshita with it, throwing him outside the ring. But as he's hit it, he doesn't show concern. He's smiling and looks happy that he did it. Because of that distraction, that allowed Bandido to hit 21 plex with one arm on Okada to win. Now, obviously, Brodido retained the AEW World Tag Team Championships, which is great. But the big thing was, Bandido just pinned the AEW Unified Champion, and it's Okada, and commentary put this over big time. And like I said, I really loved this match. My match of the night, excellent match for me. Please do check it out. Next, we had the AEW World Championship match of Hangman Adam Page versus Samoa Joe. This was a great, hard-hitting match between two of the very best on the roster, with Joe being a former world champion himself, trying to get inside the head of Page, but the fighting spirit of the current champ, Hangman Page, will not let Samoa Joe get into his head, and that, which led to these guys having each other scouted out for the whole match, with everything that one tried to do, the other had it scouted out. For example, there was a running, I'd say the running spot that they kept going back to, which led to a nice payoff, was Hangman trying to hit the moonsault to the outside. But every time that he tried, Joe would walk away. But in the end, Hangman had it scouted out, and as Joe went into the ring, Hangman was able to change direction and hit it in the ring. But that obviously didn't work for long, as Joe was able to work over the champ, leading to an excellent fiery comeback of Hangman just popping up and yelling in Joe's face, "Come on, mother, you can fill out the next bit," only for Joe to then put Hangman pretty much away in a coquina clutch, but Hangman able to fight out of it before we get to the finish, where Hangman had to literally land 3 buckshot lariats to put Joe away for the win. Now this puts Joe over hugely in defeat, because it took 3 of the buckshots to put him away. He had several times that he was on top of the champ, and the fact that he had Hangman's number a few times in the match, but just Hangman's fighting spirit would not allow Joe to win. And this led to, after the match, as Hangman has just won, the rest of the ops of Hobbs and Shibata came down for looking to have a mutual respectful celebration between their partner Joe and Hangman, only for the ops to turn heel on Hangman, and all 3 lay him out, clearly setting up that Joe is not finished with Page and the world title. In a great match. This was a great match, and I'm so excited to see where these two carry on going in the near future. And finally, we come to our main event of the night, which was Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin in an I Quit match. And this match is one for the sickos. And luckily, I'm definitely one of those sickos that enjoys hardcore stipulations. Even for me, I do really enjoy a hardcore match, and like the over-the-top violence that Moxley does bring, even for me, I felt this match jumped the shark quite a lot. And I'll get to it, and I think if you've seen the match, you'll probably know what moment I'm talking about, but I'll get to it when we get to it. But firstly, I do want to just throw out my thoughts on where I thought this match was going to go, or this feud I should say was going to go, after what happened at All Out with Darby setting Mox on fire. And in the build to this match, we got the rematch, we got Darby using a flamethrower and attempted to use a Molotov cocktail. And I said in my previous thoughts video for All Out that I thought it was going to lead to a Inferno match, which to me was like, well, why then use all the fire if you're not leading to an Inferno match, which to be honest, it was probably a better idea not to do it, considering what happened in this match. That being said, though, the best way to describe this match itself is, let's try to murder Darby Allin, as that's all this match was for me, really. It was, everything was, let's try to kill Darby in this match. And I'll say, I won't be able to do justice for this match. You need to check this match out for itself, as it was brutal and big spot after big spot. And that first big spot came when, after brawling, which I should say, the match itself started with an excellent standoff between the two, with Darby laying out the AEW flag that he took up to the top of Mount Everest in front of Mox, as he's standing in front of Mox to defend AEW, which was a perfect visual metaphor for what would happen. But yeah, after brawling and Darby being the first one to be busted open, which came as a surprise, as Mox didn't bleed at all in this match, which, considering the stipulation and what happened, very shocking. This led to them brawling on the outside, where the first big spot happened where Mox had pinned Darby's hand down on steel steps, and after getting some wooden skewers, started to put the wooden skewers underneath Darby's fingernails and smashing them in. Now, that's very visually brutal, and considering a lot of stuff in wrestling, especially hardcore spots, there's certain things that you see and you go, yeah, that would hurt and that, but you don't know because you wouldn't be able to experience it. But something like a wooden skewer or a splinter getting caught under your fingernail, you know what that would feel like. Obviously, it's over the top and exaggerated with it being a massive wooden skewer like that long, but it still was very brutal for me. And then this just, like I said, this just started to be Mox just beating Darby over and over and over again, which led to the next big spot for me and one of my personal favourites of the match, which was back in the ring. Mox got a belt and started to whip Darby's back, with the welts of the belt shots really showing up on Darby's back. Obviously, commentary, without properly naming ECW, did say this reminded them of a famous belt whipping segment of, obviously, the Tommy Dreamer, Sandman, Thank You Sir, May I Have Another spot, which is infamous. But for me, this reminded me of another belt segment that AEW themselves did several years ago during the MJF Cody Rhodes feud, where Cody had to take 10 belt shots from MJF in a very great segment. I love that segment. So having for me, almost like a callback to that was quite fun. This obviously led to Darby firing up and getting a bit of a comeback, trying to make that comeback, taking the fight to Mox, only for the Death Riders to get involved and lay out Darby, including Claudio literally launching Darby out of the ring and onto the announce table, where he bounced off of it with a violent speed. And afterwards we got another spot of Mox putting Darby's lifeless corpse with the Death Rider through tables for my favourite part of the match, which isn't actually any of the spots themselves. It was just a simple bit of character work for me, as Darby's lifeless corpse is laying outside of the table's wreckage, and the ref is asking Darby, does he quit? And Darby is just out of it. Is unconscious, is lifeless. and Mox is yelling and pleading with Darby to quit, to end this like torture and end this. He can end it. He doesn't want to do this to Darby, but Darby's making him do it, which is a very great, for me, very great heel motivation of being very obviously blinded by his actions and that, and thinking he's doing good when he's not. This then led to the proverbial shark being jumped, which was with the Death Riders bringing in a fish tank and filling it up, which led to Moxley attempting murder. And that's not an understatement. He pretty much tried to kill Darby by drowning him in a fish tank in the middle of the ring. Now, there's several things you can do in wrestling. You can hurt people, you can break bones, you can beat them to a pulp, but there's one line that you just can't do because it will never work, and that is murder. You can't murder people because it would never work, because you can't have somebody just vanish. Look at the Giant and Hulk Hogan at Halloween Havoc 95 when the Giant fell off the roof. He showed up at the end of the night. Money in the Bank 2020. Yeah, Money in the Bank 2020 when it was the corporate ladder match where Baron Corbin threw both Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black off the roof. And they were back, I do believe, the next night on Raw with no explanation of how they survived being thrown off a roof. And this is the thing, you can't cross the line of attempted murder. So that for me really took me out of the match. But then the crowd really popped up when the lights went out, and when they came up, Sting was there with the baseball bat, made his return, and was taking out Mox, and took out the Death Riders, evening the playing field for Darby, which led to the finish where Darby fought back using Sting's baseball bat, and after hitting a coffin drop, put the Scorpion Deathlock on Mox with the AEW flag wrapped around Mox. After Sting took out Mox, he destroyed the fish tank, spreading all the glass and the water on the ring mat. Mox was in the Scorpion Deathlock in this mesh, which commentary really put over. He's laying in the glass, which again didn't work for me, because you've just got it looked honestly like Mox was just sitting in a puddle of water, because you could not see the glass at all and there was no real effect. So to which he quit. So Darby Allin finally beats Jon Moxley in what was a very over the top, really fun match. I'm just ashamed that the ending really, it went too far for me, and not in the way I would assume they would. It kind of took me out of it, I feel. But that doesn't stop what was a very crazy match, and like I said, I can't do it enough justice. You need to see it for yourself, because I've not mentioned half of the match was just, like I said, Darby getting brutalised and some of the stuff they did. So yeah, please do check this match out. In conclusion, AEW WrestleDream 2025 is yet another great pay-per-view from the company this year, which has had so many pay-per-views this year, being like arguably match of the year worthy. Not match of the year, pay-per-view of the year worthy. With the two tag team matches being standouts, that being the Bucks Jurassic Express and Brodido versus Koteshka and Okada. All three women's matches really delivered on this card. I loved all three of them. And as well as the world title match of Paige and Joe was great as well. But the thing the show's going to really be remembered of is the main event. And like I said, it was a very fun main event, but I'm ashamed to say I do feel like the ending did kind of take me out of it. So that is a bit of a damper, because it is always how you leave them, but it wasn't enough to ruin the match itself and the whole show for me. But overall, I really loved this show, and I do very much recommend WrestleDream 2025. That being said though, thank you for watching, and hope to see you soon. I will be doing a review on NXT Halloween Havoc very soon, so please check that out when it's uploaded, and see you soon. Okay, bye.